Donald Fleck is a therapist who's been meditating for more than 40 years. He uses mindfulness and meditation with his clients. Welcome, Donald. Nice to have you here today.
Thanks, Kathy. I'm really glad. Thanks for inviting me to be here. It's a real pleasure.
Yes, well, I've been trying very hard to get you here.
I know, I'm
You're
sorry.
a busy man.
It's not that I'm that busy, but here I am. If
Yes.
the time is right.
And you're like so close to here, I don't know.
Yeah, it was a 15-minute walk from the office, and that included stopping to get these Hershey's Kisses, and we're here. What can you say? This is life. This is how life unfolds.
Yes. So we're going to be talking today about mindfulness and mindfulness in everyday life. So let's just start with what is mindfulness, because it's a phrase that we hear a lot these days, but what exactly is that?
Yeah. Mindfulness would be noticing things in the present, which that's an idea that has no life to it. So we could say, let's talk more about how life is normally. So normally I could think of us as being thinking creatures. So I'm thinking about what I'm going to say next. I'm thinking about various things. And once in a while I drop into noticing the present. A lot of this normal way of living could be called living on automatic pilot. So in the sense that I can walk to the subway, get on the subway, be on the subway, walk from the subway to wherever I'm going, and be thinking the whole time about something other than the trip and not get lost because I've sort of memorized that. Well, that's like living on automatic pilot. I haven't noticed maybe the birds singing as I was walking down to the subway. I haven't noticed the sounds of the train. I haven't noticed the people around me. I've been sort of like lost in my head. So if I had to draw a picture of myself on automatic pilot, like the size of myself in proportion to my experience, then my head would be this big and my body would be this big, because all of my experience on automatic pilot is about this thinking. I'm thinking about, sometimes I'm thinking about the present, like, oh, where's my subway pass? That would be the present, right? But a lot of the thoughts would be about the past, like what happened yesterday and where was the rest of my breakfast, or what's this meeting I have to go to, or I'm worried about my relationship with this person. Most of the thinking is about the past and the future, and it's done without really being aware of the present.
And so why do I want to be aware of the present? I guess I know that to be in the present means that maybe I'm experiencing things more fully. Do you think that's true? Is that?
Yeah.
Do you feel like we're missing things by being on autopilot or something? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I think, for example, like we had a chocolate chip cookie last week, and it's very possible, I happen to like chocolate chip cookies, and it's very possible, we were talking last week getting ready for this, and I appreciated your time, because I didn't know how to prepare for this, we could have spent the whole time really on talking, which is in that mind thinking zone, and not noticed the cookie, and that's sort of a pity. Now
So you would just eaten the cookie and then going, oh, the cookie's now gone, and I didn't even really appreciate or enjoy the cookie.
Yeah, or worse than that, not even know that I didn't appreciate the cookie.
Yeah.
So I could be in my favorite restaurant having my favorite dessert, like this bread pudding with raisins and cream. There's a place called, I have a place to get it too. And I could be there with some friends and having my favorite dessert, and we're talking about everything but the dessert. So when is the moment I get to really taste and enjoy the dessert?
Right.
If I don't really stop, then the dessert is like a concept. So, oh yes, I like bread pudding, but to really like the bread pudding, I need to be able to taste it, smell it, see it, feel it in my mouth. That's the direct experience of the bread pudding.
Right.
So just to go for a moment to my foot, We can say for my foot here, we can say, well, there's my foot. It's got a brown, I don't know if the camera goes down there, but it's got a brown sock on it. So that would
Very
be like
flexible.
thinking about my foot. But then the direct experience of my foot would be, can I feel, and you might try this for yourself, can I feel the toes touching each other? Do I feel any dampness or dryness in my foot? Do I feel any muscle tension in my foot? We both have our shoes off. Can I feel the breeze of the air conditioning going through my sock? If I pay attention to that, that would be the direct experience of my foot.
Okay.
So
Let's
there's thinking
do that
about
for a
it.
moment. Let me
Okay.
try that for a moment. Let's just try it for a minute. So really, I'm thinking really about the sensations of my foot.
Yeah. Being mindful of your foot.
So what I feel is half my foot's warm and half of my foot is cold.
Yeah.
The part that's sticking out is cold, and the part that's under my leg is warm.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that. So that's what I'm
Perfect.
supposed to be sort of in tuning to.
Yeah, so this is how mindfulness works, is tuning into direct experience versus talking about the foot.
Right.
The
My foot, it's like this, it's like that.
Yeah, as a
But-
concept. So back to the bread pudding then. So then, like, the bread pudding could be eaten without being noticed, you know?
Right.
So all my friends know that when we sometimes sit down and eat together, I like to pause and take a bite, but I don't always go about now asking everyone else to do it.
Do you go like this? Stop, stop, stop. Let's all like sit and like, enjoy our food.
I do, and they go into revolt immediately. Like, what do you mean? I'm telling you about my vacation that's coming up next month. I'm going to Italy. Oh, great, you're going to Italy.
But
How about
can we
Italy?
enjoy
How
our
about
food?
eating this bread pudding right here? There's a lot of resistance. So number one, you can't like sell it to people.
Right.
People have to want it. But like, so I can have my bread pudding by myself and
Right.
be with my friends and just
Right.
tune them out for a little bit
Okay,
and really taste it.
So if I'm in tune with the present moment, I'm sort of getting I'm getting a fuller life. I'm getting possibly more enjoyment. We can talk about that in a minute. And sort of a greater experience. Is there, what's the reverse of that? If I'm not in the present moment, what's happening?
Yeah, if I'm not in the present moment, I'm being like, I think, what evolution taught us to be. I'm dealing with life and coping with things and trying to make things better. And then when I drop into mindfulness, I might notice some things I wouldn't ordinarily notice. So, for example, a benefit of noticing things is I might have a better idea of what I actually like and don't like. I can say like,
I have a story about that. Can I tell
okay,
you?
yeah, and I'll
So-
just opening up one of these chocolate kisses.
So a bunch of years ago, I think it was one of my first weekend-long retreats. And was it silent? I think it was silent. And at lunchtime, they had this beautiful, fresh food put out, including a fresh spinach salad. And I was like, oh, spinach. Actually, maybe I shouldn't be telling this story, but I'll tell you the story anyway. And I was like, oh, spinach. And so I took some spinach, and then, you go and you sit quietly, and you're going to go eat all. And I start to eat the spinach salad, and it tasted like, what spinach is supposed to taste like, but there's like a real earthy flavor to it. And I was like, I totally don't even like this. I was like, I had this idea that I liked spinach salad, and the reality of it was, I didn't really. So that's
Sticks to your teeth.
it's like the anti-mindfulness story. Like here we are talking about like, oh, mindfulness is so great, and you be in the present moment. And now I'm telling this story about like the opposite, except for except for it supports your thing of like you don't even really know what you do and do not like because you're not even mindful about
But
it.
so it's the opposite of mindfulness because people think mindfulness is going to make me happy. But in fact, if we're mindful, we're going to notice things we like and things we don't like.
Yes, but then but we don't want to notice things we don't like. I like to not notice things I don't like. I like, I think there's this idea, or I have this idea that like I really just want to notice the good things. Like the chocolate.
Yeah, well, let's just focus on the good things for the
Okay.
moment then. So along the lines of the spinach, before I go to the chocolate, I have always liked French fries, but it turns out that if you eat a French fry mindfully, sometimes it changes the experience. So with that initial taste of salt and the hotness and the taste, but then as you're chewing it after a while, you get this sort of like maybe greasy taste in your mouth. If you really want to get off French fries, try eating one mindfully when it's cold. It's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. But on the other hand, see, the thing I think what people want with mindfulness is to wake up to things which are beautiful in life. And
Exactly.
it's fine if we just cover that today because there's so many opportunities for that. So I have discovered, believe it or not, that when I walk down the street and I hear birds singing, it makes me happy. So I'm walking
Versus what?
along versus walking along lost in thoughts, not noticing the birds, just like thinking about what I have to do next, or wondering this or that, or thinking about the state of affairs of the United States in this year. Noticing the birds makes me happy. And I think, so then that's a huge benefit if you think about it. And it doesn't cost anything to hear the birds. Even in this very urban place, there's often birds available to hear. I can hear them through my window at the office. I can hear them through the window in my home. So I also learned about things I like. So a benefit of mindfulness is that things can seem rather sweet all of a sudden. I think that's the thing that gets people excited. And then so the tragedy of spinach, I mean, it's not nice to the spinach growers of America,
That's right.
but
It
I
spoiled
wonder
my
if you had a
lunch.
lot of garlic in the spinach, would that help?
That's right. It may have. It may have.
Yeah, maybe that would help. And then there's always the need for a pocket toothbrush to get the spinach off our teeth. But so a benefit of mindfulness is to really know what I like in a more real way. So like talking about my foot versus sensing my foot, talking about the bread pudding versus tasting the bread pudding, and tasting the spinach and realizing we don't like it. And then
We
there's
want to
this
eat a chocolate together now?
which, yeah.
I already
I'm
ate
gonna-
mine. I think.
Well, that's wonderful.
Good thing we have extras.
I've got, I'm going to take another bite now. I could actually hear the bite. See if you can hear the bite. I doubt the microphones are going to pick it up, but so this thing about mindfulness and finding what we like and we don't like is that we're learning it in the moment through our senses. So the sense of sound of the chocolate may not be that fulfilling, but it's interesting that it's there. Certainly the taste. Is there an aroma? Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
No extra charge.
No, and that's like such a great aroma. You know,
Yeah.
we really really enjoy the aroma of chocolate.
I'm going to
And
stay like this
maybe
for the
even-
rest of the
I
interview.
was just thinking that,
Yeah.
like maybe more so than the taste even.
It's pretty awesome, isn't it? And then there's a sense of touch. So actually it's melting a little bit on my fingers,
me
but
too.
that's all right. We got napkins here. But there's a sense of touch. But of course, mainly it's going to be the flavor. And so one interesting way to eat is to take a bite of something and then take the next bite once the flavor of that bite is gone. It's like a challenge.
We don't have that much time here.
We don't have that much time, but like I can still taste the last bit of chocolate. Normally it would be scarf it all down, right?
Right.
So this is what I would call savoring.
Right.
So a kind of savoring can come into awareness as we're mindful. So eating a piece of chocolate mindfully would involve really noticing it. And you're a great person to sit and have chocolate with, I have to say.
You too.
Thank you.
Especially since you brought it. You're a very good gift. And I wonder about, okay, this is the thinking mind. I'm wondering about, like, if I savored my food in this way, if maybe I would modulate my intake better. You know, like if I would just, I mean, you know, I don't have any more time than anybody else. I'm often in a hurry. But if I sat and savored one chocolate, I wouldn't eat half a bag, you know?
That's a really good point, because there's something called mindfulness-based eating as a program for people who have difficulty, great difficulty controlling their eating, which does involve slowing down and actually noticing. So, yeah, it can change the way we eat if we're really noticing it, because, you know, it's possible to take a whole cake and all of a sudden the whole thing is gone.
Absolutely.
That won't really happen with mindfulness. Now, it can be more complicated psychologically, but that's...
How so?
Well, it might be that there are psychological reasons, like early childhood deprivation or something, let's say, that's causing a
So it
person
brings
to
issues up.
overeat. Or there might be a thing that people have overwhelming feelings and they're eating to like they say, stuff the feelings. That wouldn't need to be dealt with. But if
that's
those are
interesting.
somewhat looked at, then the mindful eating can really make a difference. So being
Or maybe
mindful,
those issues, I mean, you are saying that those issues might come up as you're eating, but if you're mindful about those issues coming up eating, then it's like a double win.
it is a double win, right? Because you can really be aware and you can work with that insight. So one meditation is sometimes called insight meditation, because you can have awarenesses that you wouldn't ordinarily have, which help you understand your life better. So yes, eating with awareness can be really interesting, alone or with other people. I'm enjoying my chocolate still, and yeah.
So we can be, we talked a little bit about, you know, mindfulness of our foot, and so we can be mindful of whatever's going on in our experience, you know, whatever it is, the birds, the chair, our foot, our food. So that's really what we're talking about today, is like bringing that, not in some sort of special big, you know, grandiose practice meditation, but really talking about bringing it like in the everyday life, in this way in which every moment we can be present, every moment we can be mindful and aware of what's going on.
Yeah, so I'm going to just put my chocolate aside for the moment, because I think I've had enough for right now, and I'll come back to that in a minute. So yeah, and so like it turns out to be sort of hard to be mindful all the time. So what people like to do is find a favorite mindful thing to do. Or let's say I'm standing in line waiting for something, like I'm at a very popular store and there's a really long line.
It's the holiday season, perhaps.
Yeah, and I'm late, and it's hot. I'm burned out. I'm just stressed out of my mind. So if I can apply mindfulness there, I might be able to make that standing in line experience more tolerable.
Right.
So how would I do that?
I was just going to ask you that.
I would say to myself, okay, Donald, what's really upsetting you here in the line? Well, it's because the things I have to do later. Oh, wait, that's in the future. Let me try to bring my awareness into the present. Mindfulness is noticing the present on purpose. Okay, so my feet are feeling really hot because these shoes don't breathe really well, and that's uncomfortable. But wow, I feel a breeze on my face. That's sort of nice. And look at these interesting people around me. Oh, look at her. Look at the little kid. Oh, the little kid is goofing off, you know. And that's present experience. And I could maybe notice the smells, or think about the fact that, well, my feet are hot and bothersome, that the rest of my body's pretty comfortable, actually. So I could use that, what would normally be a really frustrating time of standing in line, and turn it into something that's sort of nice, because I have to be there anyway. Now, if I have to make a decision to ditch the line and go to the place, that's something else. But if I've decided to stay in the line, why not try mindfulness? Why not experiment with that? And the same thing I can do with other times that are unpleasant. I can let them be present. For example, if I'm going on too much, you'll let me know.
Oh, I'll cut you off.
There was this nurse I read about, actually, I don't know her personally, but being a nurse in an emergency room is a very, very frustrating thing. Everything's important. So this one nurse was writing about everything being frustrating. And one of the most frustrating things was when she had to telephone someone in another department to like request a radiology or request a blood test. And it'd go ring and ring and ring and ring. And then a wise teacher said to her, why don't you try mindfulness while it's ringing? Why not let the sound of the phone ringing in your ear be a mindfulness bell?
Wow.
Something to say, okay, let me now be mindful. Okay, so here I am listening to it ring. I can't make that person pick up any faster. Ringing. And maybe I'm noticing my breath as I'm doing it. Ringing, ringing. So it gave, she found that there were, without having to change her day, there were times to be mindful and make her day more enjoyable.
Yeah.
With very little effort.
As you were talking about standing in line, I was thinking about partly what you're talking about is sort of mental choices. Sort of, you can choose to be angry that this line is crazy long and the store is hot and your feet hurt, and you can choose to focus on that, or you can choose to focus on the kids playing and the lovely music and someone's perfume and things. You can actually choose that as a way, I don't know, to maybe enjoy life a little bit more and bring that.
It's a miracle because there's all these possibilities of joy right in front of us.
Yeah.
So there's the tendency to think like, I'll be happy. I know, here's an example. I have to paint the apartment before I have people over for dinner. But once I get the apartment painted, then they'll come for dinner and then I'll be happy. But in mindfulness, and maybe I want to do those things, but in mindfulness I can find ways to be happy right now.
Right.
I can be happy I'm sitting here talking to you, Kathy.
Right.
And John Kabat-Zinn likes to say, from the point of view of mindfulness, if you're breathing, there's more right with you than wrong with you. In other words, if I'm sitting here breathing, I know I'm alive, I've got clothing, I've got food, there's more right with me than wrong with me. But I could be grousing about this thing going wrong, or having missed that, or can't wait for that. But from the point of view of the present, if I'm mindful, there's more right than wrong, because I can notice the things that are right. And I might notice my uncomfortable foot too. But that's fine, because what I'm noticing is mostly good stuff.
Yeah, and as we've been talking for these past 20 minutes or whatever it's been, you introduced the idea of being mindful. So I am trying to be a little bit more mindful right now. And I noticed that as you're talking, I'm making an effort to be mindful. And when I do that, my body relaxes.
I think I'm getting a little wetness in my eye. Yeah, I think it's a little tear, Kathy, because you said we've already talked for 20 minutes. I think that makes me sad.
Or is that relief?
No, it's sadness. So
well,
where were you then?
We're going to have more time, too.
Where were you then? You were just asking me something.
No, I was just saying that, like, when I was listening to you and when I become mindful, my body would relax. I would, like, lose some tension.
Yeah.
And that, you hadn't brought that up, but that, to me, is like a nice side effect of being in the present moment, where I'm not, as you said, I'm not a big head this big.
Yeah.
I'm, like, being in the present moment,
whole
and that
body.
allows me to relax. But that said, time is almost out, so I want to give you the opportunity to tell us where we can find you in the future.
Oh, absolutely. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about how to become mindful. Okay, where they can find me in the future. If you Google Donald Mindfulness New York City, I'll come up.
Donald Mindfulness New York City.
I'll come up.
That's great. And do you have a website?
Yes, it's called Learn Mindfulness NYC. But who's going to remember that?
Learn Mindfulness NYC.
NYC.com.
That's not that hard.
But you could Google Donald Mindfulness NYC and all my stuff will come up. My CD, my workshop for people with negative thinking, all that stuff will come up.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit about how you can stop me.
Yes, we're stopping you, Donald. This is it. Our time's up. So, but we'll have more time in the future.
Okay.